Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Kayla with Mainstream with Miss Will. And if you are here today, it means you have purchased a product from my TBT store or you are considering it and you want to learn about how to use these products within your store. Before we begin, I really want to talk to you guys about why I am doing what I'm doing and why I've chosen the name Mainstream with Miss Will. I have worked in educational settings from early childhood all the way up through right now. I'm working in an adult-based program for individuals with disabilities. So I have experience all across the board with all levels of students. I have been in severe, profound, multiple disability rooms. I have been in moderate cognitive rooms, and I have also served in general education settings as well. Right now, I am in Oklahoma teaching multiple disability classroom. So my students really need the most supports and really my plan, and I'm looking through things on TPT and I'm just not finding resources that I need. There's not a lot of differentiated products that are available for me and my coworkers to use with our students in our moderate cognitive and severe profound classrooms. So I thought, well, if nobody else is providing these resources, then I can help people across our country, across the world, find resources that they can use in their classrooms every day. So that really is my goal, is to find things for you that you can use within your classroom to serve all of your students. And I will go over today how you're going to make the products, how you're going to use them, and how to differentiate them to meet the needs of all of your students so that you don't have to do the work to differentiate and modify to make it at different levels for you. So I'm hoping my products are going to serve your classroom, your teaching style, and your students in a way that other products out there now might not be doing, because like I said, I've had such a struggle with it. I decided, well, I'm just going to do it for my classroom and I'm going to try and help others while I do it as well. The reason I chose Mainstream with Miss Will is because I'm very passionate about making sure all students have equitable opportunities, and I want that to be within the general education setting. The more we are around our neurotypical peers, the more we're going to learn, the more we're going to socialize, the more we're going to know how to communicate and make friendships and be happy. Really, the goal for all students is just that. We want to create the best quality of life for our students and their families, and that needs to happen in the real world. And so when they leave high school, when they leave our adult program, they're going to go out into the world, and the world is not separated. There's not a general education world and a special education world. And so I feel that we shouldn't always make our classes that way. We need to find opportunities for them to be out in the school community and in the community as much as possible. So mainstream, if you're not sure of this term, mainstream means education alongside neurotypical peers. So in education, we're talking about being taught in a general education classroom. So that is when your students are going into a classroom, or maybe you are a general education teacher serving individuals on an IEP and you need to modify or accommodate your lessons a little bit for them, then these products can also be used in your classroom. So I want these products to be able to be used either in a general education classroom, a resource room, a self-contained classroom. If you want to send it home for parents for remote learning days as activities that they can do with their families. Oklahoma is calling it, my district at least is calling it remote learning. For you, it might be other inclement weather days where they're working at home with their families. So that is why I created this as Mainstream with Miss Will, because we need to prepare our students and their families for life after high school and what that's going to look like. So we need to providing those opportunities, and that includes the education setting. So I'm passionate, as you can probably tell. I went off on my tangent. Let's go. Let's take a break and go into the actual products, how you're going to make these. Then we'll talk about how to use them and the um, extension activities. And then I'll talk about through the process how we differentiate this. So for all of my products, all of these adapted books, there is going to be the book and typically 5 extension activities. Now, each activity will be a little different. and they may not all have 5. Right now I have one book coming out for the month of February that will not have 5. Excuse me. It will only have 4 extension activities, and that is the rote counting book. So what you'll get in most of my books with the 5 extension activities, you get the book, comprehension questions, there's 5 questions, vocabulary cards, sequencing cards, matching worksheets, and a rote counting worksheet or other extensions. So right now, all my February products coming out are going to have rote counting worksheets, but in the future, I could also add in other extension activities that go along with the book. My goal here for you is to kind of create all subjects as we can in a month within an adapted book. So in our school districts, we have reading and English as separate classes in elementary. In secondary, we see middle schools, we see reading and literacy or English and literacy. And then in secondary or high school, it's just English. So some grade levels have 2 classes that are English, reading, writing, all together. And then by high school, it's in 1 class. So really by my level, we have 4 subjects. That's science, social studies, math, and English. So really what these books are for the month of February, what you're going to get is reading and vocabulary sequencing. So that can be reading, English, literature, any of these subjects that you're required to teach. They are going to cover social studies topics because we have things about Groundhog Day, Valentine's Day as a holiday, President's Day, and Black History Month. So we can bring social studies in through their learning, through their reading and text. And then we also have math because I have the rote counting worksheets and I also have a rote counting book that's coming out as well. So I covered as many subject areas as I can to help you be able to use this information across all curricula. So let's start with our books. There are several ways you can make the books when you print them and what you can do with them. The first is the simplest things. You see my mess here. I have everything sprawled out on my desk. This is a Groundhog book. The simplest way, print and go, just print it and staple it up at the top. I do worry about using that with some of my students because they have either less mobility or less dexterity and fine motor ability, and it increases the likelihood if I want them to turn the pages that they're going to tear the pages. So that's not the method that I use, but if that works for you and your student, then that's easy for you. So the easiest thing to do, print and go, just staple it, and then you're good. You can use it for the rest of the month. The next thing you can do is print it and put it in a binder. If you have individuals with visual impairments, you can choose a binder with a darker color like this one is red. So here, you just clipped it into the binder. Again, you can turn the pages. Here's one of the worksheets for Valentine's Day that they can get by the end and go through the book. So here I've just put a couple pictures together for you to make it look like a book. It's not the full book, of course. So Groundhog Day, here's the title page. You would turn the pages and read the book to them. Another variation you can do if you want it to be more sturdy, again, because over time, pages can get torn. You can laminate the pages, 3-hole punch, and then put it in a binder. I would suggest a 2 to 3 inch binder. Thicker binder, I guess a 1-inch binder could work too. So pick a binder that you have within your classroom or your school that's a little bit thicker than this one because this one would only fit 1 book. I suggest if you're going to purchase more than 1 book or you're going to send them into a classroom or even work in your classroom on other activities that you also want to be in their binder, their IEP skills, their targeted instruction, things that you want continued practice on, you can put everything in 1 binder, use some binder tabs to organize it and use it. One thing I have on this binder is a Velcro strip. It is the soft side of the strip because we always say soft stays. That's what's going to go on. And then I've got some picture symbols. So as you read the book, if you have a student that needs reduced distractions, if you have a student that has a visual impairment or needs high contrast, anything like that, what you can do is while you get the question in the book, you can put the answers on the back So what you can do with this Velcro strip, like I said, soft stays. So we're going to put the hook, the rough Velcro on the back of the picture cards. You're going to put the picture symbols that are the answers to your question here. And when you ask the question, we're going to see the reduced field. It brings the colors and the images more to their visual focus, just because of the bright background or a black background. It's similar to using a black felt board if you have any students that use that. But this would be targeted more for somebody with this cortical visual impairment that has specific colors that they prefer in their visual field. That's typically a red or a yellow. So do whatever is best for your student, and you can put these colors up there. But for now, I won't talk about how we're differentiating it. I'm going to save that for a little bit. I'm just going over how we can make these books in different ways. If you don't have binders readily accessible, you can use binding rings. So same thing, like a binder, you're just going to take these rings and close them up all the way down. So the first way you can do it is one binder ring, then you can just carry it, or if you have any clips that you put on like your whiteboard, you can hang it up to show that this is the book we're reading. You can grab it and read it to your students or to your class in different ways. So you could do this for direct instruction, small group, or one-on-one. I don't recommend this full-size page with binder clips just because that likelihood of tearing it or the pages getting mixed up. I think that the best thing to do is at least add some more clips, just like you would in a binder. I have even seen these done where you use binder clips all the way down, so you use more than 3 to better support the book. So now they're on binder clips. The pages will not get messed up. But from this method still, consider your students and who you're working with. If you think that this book could be torn by the time you're done with it, or if you want to keep it for future years, you might want to consider laminating it. So that's another thing you can do to make this book. You can laminate it and then put it on 1 ring or 3 rings. You can also print this as a half-size book if you don't like it as full size. Of course, I serve students that need the larger pictures, really, and we use a little bit of words in each of the books, but really my main focus is for them to focus on the picture and listen while I read it aloud to them. So I use large pictures, I use full-size books. The half-size books are not going to work for the individuals I have, but you can still use them by making them in your printer settings. You can make it as a half-size book if you prefer. So then it would probably be about this size, and you'd have the binder ring at the top, and you can carry it around as a half-size book, and that will save you paper, and it will save you on ink as well. So that could be a good resource for you. If anyone doesn't know how to turn a full-size book into a half-size book in your printer settings, please let me know in the comments, and I can try to make a video of that for you. I'm happy to do that and help serve your students even better. You can also ask your colleagues. I'm sure there are people around you that may know how to work those printer settings. Really what you need to do is when you go to print the document, you're going to open up all the advanced settings for the printer and how you're going to print the document. And you're going to go, there's usually a tab that says print 1 per page or something similar to that. You're going to click the drop down and do it as print 2 per page. And then you have to turn it from portrait to landscape because now you want half-size pages, so you're going to need to put it landscape like this, which is now on a half page. Now this is going to be the long side, versus if you did it this way, then your book wouldn't turn out if you did it half side that way. So there are some different things you can do. Ask a colleague if you want to print yours on less paper, or if you want me to do it, I'm happy to do that for you too. Just comment below and I will get a video uploaded for you. So we've gone through print and go, printing and using it in a binder or with binder rings, but one of my favorites is to actually use a binding machine and binding combs. Now these combs themselves don't always stay together as well. You might, but they're very easy to put back together. Look, I already see that 2 of mine here in the middle have come off, but it's very easy to just add the tabs back in. Another binding that I don't have here is the binding spirals that just spiral up and it stays together very well. So this is one thing you can do for a book. This one is laminated. Again, you can bind it with printed pages. They don't have to be laminated. This is a Valentine's book. This is like a social story telling your students how we're going to give Valentines. It's up at a class party. We have a class party and we're going to give Valentines. So you're going to go to the store and buy Valentines with a family member, how to buy, how to pay for them, and how to make them and write your name on them. So that is what this story is about. I've just found it here. So now that you know the different ways that you could put the book together, now I need you to know how to use the book. So we're going to start with the book and the comprehension. For the comprehension questions, you have two ways of doing it. You could put the comprehension questions in the text, and that's what I've made. That's what we're going to see. Or you could put them at the end. So for what I'm doing in my classroom, I need immediate feedback. I need to ask questions during the text. So when I read the page that has the answer, I'm then going to ask the question and get the answer immediately. I'm not going to wait until the end and go through all 5 questions. So think of your students. You can differentiate it for all of your students. Maybe some students need it in the text. Maybe you're working on increased comprehension and you want them to answer after the text is read. So you can do this in multiple ways, even within your own classroom. So in this book, you're going to read the pages to your students, and then you're going to come up on a question. The first question page is, when is Valentine's Day? So we have some options for March, February, and September, and they have the dates on them. What you want the student to do is pull the picture off and put it up here to show that that is your answer. You may not have students that can answer from a field of 3. So way to differentiate is take a picture off. Now we have a field of 2. You can also do an errorless where it's only the right answer, February 14th. And you're just teaching the skill of having them find the answer. You might be asking them to pull it off and move it up. So it really depends on your students. One thing I want you to be aware of, I see a lot of students that have a habit of pulling from the right. And that could be because they're echolalic, and so they're going to answer with the last thing they heard. It could just be a motor pattern that they have developed by just grabbing whatever the last thing you said was, or grabbing from the right because that's their preferred field. If you have students that are pulling from the right, I would suggest you never put an item or the right answer on the right. So if you have a field of 2, don't put one on the right-hand side. Leave it blank so that the student can't pick this. Then what's going to happen is now this is the one to the right, they're going to pick this. But you want to start building that ability. They need to learn to scan the field, to search, think about the question, and find the answer regardless of where it is. So that's a targeted skill you are going to have to teach and work on with them. So if you have someone always grabbing from the right, make sure you're not always putting the right answer over here on the right. So for these questions, let's go through some more. Let me put my answers back on. There are Velcro dots on here. Again, the soft Velcro dot is going to stay, and the hard, rough hook side is going to be on your picture symbols. Now, the reason we do this is for those students that can't pick from a page. If you need to put it on their desk, you can pull it off, put it on their desk, and have them pick from the desk. You might need a black felt board, or each of your students may have their own mode of communication and how they give you answer choices. And if you do that, then you can present this on a black felt board, or like I had with this. You can present your answers, and then your students can give you answers and pull them off, and you won't need to do anything else. So if you need to pull the pictures off the questions, so keep the questions where they are in the book, attached to the book, either during or after the text. Keep them there. That's for you to know where they are, what the questions are. And then you give the question and answer symbols to the students in their mode of work. So you just need to use these pictures in the way that'll work for your students. And some may be able to use the pages, and some may need to have them put on a black felt board so that they can see those. And so when you're transferring something to a black felt board or other Velcro, you're gonna need the rough edge to be on your picture symbol. If it's the rough edge, it will stick to a felt board. If it is the soft edge, which is what felt board is soft, it will not. So now you're going to have to make more picture symbols to put different Velcro dots on the back. So save yourself some time and work and just put the rough on the back of the pictures. That way they're transferable to anything that any of your students need to use to give you answer choices. So we are going to keep working through. Let me put my pictures back so I don't mess up my book. You'll keep working through the book, reading some more pages, coming up on another question. So on this question, you'll do the same thing where you'll put, see, I already took the answers off. It is, where do you go to buy Valentines for your class? You tell them the answer. Do you go to the box? Do you go to a store? Or do you go to school to buy the Valentines? And again, the student will answer however they can answer. So ways you might see answers from your students. They may use eye gaze, which means they're looking at the answer. They may point or touch. They may pull it off, but not be able to attach it. Right? That would be the next step. If now you can pull off and give me the right answer, now let's put it where it needs to go. So they'll have continued training throughout the whole process of using these books. They'll get to keep practicing and gaining new skills. Or some people might be able to do these books independently. They can read the questions. So it depends on the grade level that you're in, depends on the reading level of the student, but you can bring these into an early childhood classroom and they can read it themselves. It doesn't have to be specifically served for individuals with special needs or IEPs. So you can do any of those things to differentiate. So whatever your student uses to communicate, that's what you're going to have to use these workbooks as. You're going to have to find a way with this adapted book for your students to give you answers. So now that you know the different ways you can put some books together and how to use the comprehension questions, let's move on to the matching worksheets. So the matching worksheets, all of our worksheets really, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Number one, the easiest thing for you is print and go. Print the pages, print a couple copies, give them to a student, let them do it, and turn them in. I like to do it in a different method because I'm going to end up printing too many pages. Because if I want them to continue practicing or if I have multiple students and we're doing this for more than one day, then I'm just printing pages and wasting paper and wasting the ink that we need when I could be doing another method that allows me to use it over and over. So if you're going to do it for one-time use, you could just print and go. Here's an example worksheet from Groundhog Day where this is a higher level where they're matching the picture to the word, and you see the word emerge here. This is going to go off of their vocabulary, so this is going to be an extension on the vocabulary that they are learning in the unit. Here's a Valentine's matching. This would be your level ones, so we're just matching picture to picture instead of matching cupcake to the picture of a cupcake to the word cupcake. So those are the levels for the worksheets. Another thing that you can do if your students use eye gaze or pointing to pictures, you can cut these. I use the worksheet for my data and I put the student answers on the worksheet, but I will print these, for example, these as picture symbols. I will cut them up and I will show them, here is a cupcake. Show me the cupcake, and I would give them 1 or 2 or 3 picture symbols depending on the student, depending on what their current IEP goals are, whether it's errorless would be the field of 1, 2, or 3. So what we would do is just say, here's a cupcake. I would show the picture of the cupcake on a black felt board, and then on the other side of the black felt board, I would have the 3 answers and say, show me cupcake, or which one is the cupcake, or look at the cupcake. And then they can touch it or look at it for eye gaze, whatever their mode of selection is. Some will pull it off and give me the answer that way. So you can use these ones differentiated as well. You'll just need to print a worksheet and cut the pictures out and laminate them, and then print out a second copy for you to be able to write down what they answered and give it a grade. This is the rote counting worksheet. This is going to be exactly the same where you can print. I have rote counting worksheets that are 1 to 5. I have some that are 1 to 10. And my newest ones that I was creating actually have an errorless option where we're working on motor ability. We're working on handwriting. So it has a dotted line straight across where it's going to be 1, 1, 2. Go to the number 2. 1, 2, 3. Let's draw a line to the number 3. So this would be any students working on handwriting to just stay on the dotted line and just to start tracing. That there will be worksheets coming out like that too. This is for students that can differentiate. So know that not all of my products have it where there's a dotted line coming across, but I am making new products now that will have that because I understand that we have many levels of students with all abilities, and I want to make sure there is something in there that you can give to all of your students. Now, what I like to do, talking about reusing these over and over. This is a lamination pouch. I've seen them in a lot of classrooms. It opens up. You can slide something in, whether it's decorative for your classroom boards or for a worksheet. So if I'm going to use these, my students need continued practice. We do not do one worksheet one time. We practice these skills over and over so that we can show progress and go and start reaching towards mastery. So you can put the worksheet in here and you would use a dry erase. So this is like a dry erase sleeve. You would use a dry erase marker, and again, here's the dotted line for the first one to answer, and then they have to draw their own lines for the next one, and then this would be their assignment for you. And once you write down their grade or see their progress, you erase it, and then another student can use it, or they can use it again the next day. So this is a great option. Another thing you can do is to laminate it. Similar to the pouch, the pouch allows you to put multiple things in here all day long, as many times as you need to use it. It's interchangeable. With a lamination sheet, you would laminate the page, and that would be it. You would have one page that you can keep forever, put it in a nice filing cabinet and laminate it, and then you have it. But you're going to have lamination pages, lamination sheets in a laminator. So all of your worksheets will have to be laminated individually rather than you using a pouch where you can just put different ones in. So it's really up to you and what you prefer to do, how long you plan to keep this product. So right now we have talked about the adapted book, the comprehension questions. We have also talked about matching and rote counting worksheets. So we have 2 more activities to talk about before we are through. This one right here is your vocabulary cards. So the vocabulary cards are going to be large symbols. Again, large symbols, many of your students will be able to see unless they have a visual impairment. My students have cortical visual impairment or other types of visual impairment that allow them to see, but they need it to be larger images to do so. So I make larger images and I use it with all students because it doesn't matter the level of student because we can see this. So if all of my students can see this size of picture, then this is the size I'm going to print and I'm going to use it for everyone and their vocabulary. So we want them to be big pictures and we want them to see it and identify it. So we have some things like store, Valentines, that's the gifts you give on Valentine's Day. So you would talk through these different Valentine's cards with your students, and then you use them to ask them vocabulary questions based on what you're doing in the classroom or their IEPs and what goals they have for vocabulary. So if you're going to ask them, they could just identify a picture. Which picture shows February 14th? And then again, they're going to eye gaze, they're going to point, they're going to grab it and touch it, whatever method it is. You could even ask them, what is this? And they can tell you either verbally or if they use any sort of augmentative communication, they can put it in their device and communicate with you what these symbols are. You can also add these to a switch button. So you can put this on the back of a switch button or use the reduced sizes from the books and the worksheets and put it within the switch so they can actually touch the button if you say which one is store, and now they have 2 switch buttons on the table and these pictures are right behind it. What they're going to do is come over here, touch the button in front of store. That's now going to verbalize store and allow them to answer that way. So there's ways you can be creative if your students can answer by touching. Maybe now you bring it up a level and you bring in a switch and give them some sort of a verbal expressive communication through that. The last thing is our sequencing cards. We have a lot of students that need to work on beginning, middle, and ends of stories. So what we have are some different cards. Again, this is the Valentine's, Giving Valentine's books. So this one has 6 sequencing cards, which may seem like a lot. I would not give 6 sequencing cards to students I'm serving this year, but I would have to others that I've served in the past that they're able to do that. So a way you can make it errorless is you can ask them what happens at the end of the story, and you give them one picture symbol, and you wait for them to eye gaze, to touch, to pull and touch the picture. Whatever the answer is, whatever their mode of communication and giving answers is, that's what you're going to do for them. And you're going to tell them, no, that's right. They had fun at their party. It was fun giving Valentines. And so you're going to reiterate their choices to motivate them to keep doing it. You're going to give that immediate feedback. Then you might move up to a field of 2 where you want them to tell you what happened in the beginning and what happened in the end of the story. And from there, you can build it up to 3, beginning, middle, and end. So beginning is they're having a class party. They're going to give Valentines. Then they go to the store. Then they make their Valentines. So you can do this as many times as necessary with your students. You can start it airless and throughout the month build them up to 3 or 4 picture symbols. It goes all the way up to 6 in this Giving Valentines book. My rote counting book is a 1 to 10 book. So of course that's going to have 10 sequencing cards because you're going to want your students to be able to put in order from 1 to 10. So that one has 10 sequencing cards. That's a lot. That's the most. And that's because it's a numerical based book that we're working on rote counting. That's the only reason I put 10 in there. That's way too much. Whew. That's a lot of information to share with you just about how to make and use these books. I'm sure there is plenty of other ways that I have not explained because everyone is different. And so I have had to be creative and make very fun and different ways to do assignments for each individual student in my classroom. That's a part of our job, is to modify and differentiate for each person. Something I'm passionate about because everyone can learn and everyone can answer. We just need to find a way that they can do it and that they want to do it. So be creative, do what you can, allow your students to express themselves through these books and learn new skills. So make sure you're not making it too easy for them. Make sure you're trying to challenge them as they're learning and working through these books. And if you like these products and want to buy more, your students will have more success because they're going to keep practicing and keep having the same type of activities that they'll start knowing and anticipating what's coming and what the behavioral expectation is to do these extension activities or what we're doing with this book. So they're going to know, they're going to learn it, and everything will get better. You're going to see progress. Whew, lots of information. Whew, I think I'm going to lose my voice by tonight. Now, please like and subscribe if you want updates on new products coming out, or if I put new videos out, you can get notification onto that. Again, this is my first ever video. I'm just opening my business. It's the month of January in 2024. So I made February products and I hope to create one product every week moving forward. Right now for January, I'm going to have 7 products coming out. I'll have a Valentine's Day bundle, an informational text bundle that goes over some of the things within the month of February. And then I'm going to take my 2 bundles and bundle those together so that you can get all of my February resources together for a very discounted price. It comes down to about, each book is going to be about $5. And after that, the bundles will be reduced from how many are in there. So you can get the whole February bundle for almost 50%. So you can go in and purchase the bundles if you want, if you're interested in these things, or maybe try out one and see if you would like to continue and try another one with your class. But I really appreciate you coming and supporting my business, whether you were just looking and thinking about it or you've already purchased a product. I would like to hear more from you guys in the comments about how you use adapted books or even how you're using my adapted books and the related activities that come. I would love to learn from you guys because we need to build each other up. We're all educators and we all serve very different students. Everyone is unique, and so everyone needs a unique form of instruction. And so I really want to hear from you guys how you're using adapted books and what you're doing with resources within your own classroom and how that's going to help me better my business and my students. So let's build each other up, learn from one another. So in the description below, what you're going to find is a link to resources that were used and my TPT store if you're interested in looking in some more things there. Again, this is a brand new business, so don't be shocked. I'm going to be honest, there's only going to be a couple things in there. And I know that doesn't always look the best, but there's really not much in there. But I want to continue to grow this business and provide resources to serve you and your students. So if there's anything you're ever thinking about that's working or not working for your students and that you, or a resource that you want, a social story, if there are things that just, that your student needs to make progress in and you just have reached an end pass where you're just not sure what else to do, please let me know and I'd be happy to try and problem solve with you and come up with maybe one of these adapted books with activities to help them learn and make progress through that. But I'm here. Bear with me. I will get there, and I am here to serve you and your students. Thank you for coming and watching my video. This is Mainstream with Miss Will. I am Kayla, and I look forward to talking to you more.